Greetings and welcome back, gentles and ladiesmen, to episode 4 of Star Fox Zero. So, as you noticed right here, one of the things about Star Fox Zero's gameplay is that after you complete stages, you unlock new features for your vehicles, so that means that you can go back to previous levels and use those functions, presumably to unlock new pathways. Like you might have noticed back when we played Corneria that there was like this door with a little red switch next to it. Now that we have the walker functionality, presumably we can go back there, activate the walker, step on the switch, go through the door, and access a different part of the game. So, yeah, I guess that's how they're handling pathways in this game, as far as I can tell, and I don't know, I like that. Because, like, one of the things that's different about Star Fox Zero, in terms of how it handles just the overall game, is that, with Star Fox and Star Fox Zero, and Star Fox 2 for that matter, Star Fox 1, Star Fox 64, and Star Fox 2, they all have that limited continue sort of design where, like, you die too many times, you go back to the beginning. With Star Fox Zero, how it works is, you don't have lives or continues. How it works is, oh, you sort of have lives. When you collect 3 gold rings, you get, like, I guess, a life. And if you die, you lose that life, and if you lose all of the lives, you have to restart the whole stage. And like each time you complete a phase in a level, you are allowed to continue from that point if you have a life. So it's sort of like they brought the old Star Fox design back into the modern age of gaming. Because that limited continue design is a little archaic by today's standards, so I'm glad they found a way to kind of keep the spirit of the old games while also making it more modern, you know? But what that means is that you can go back to levels on the star map at any point in time, and presumably with your new upgrades, and just go for the other pathways. So it's not like Star Fox 64 where you just sort of have to know to fly through the arches. So it's a little more obvious that, oh, I've got to use my new upgrades somehow. Now this is just my speculation. Once again, I would like to say I have not gone after the alternate paths yet. I haven't really had time to do that. Just trying to make sure I get this recorded before next week, you know, so that I have stuff to upload. But if my hypothesis is correct, and like that's how they're handling side pathways in this game, then I think it's a lot better than 64. Because the problem with 64 is you never knew what the hell you were supposed to do, unless if you happen to own you happen to own the box and the manual. So apparently all the alternate pathways are in the manual, but it's just, if you're getting a loose cart, or if you're purchasing the game off the Wii U Virtual Console or eShop, then you're not going to know that stuff. Maybe they put it in the digital manuals, but I doubt it. So it's just like, how would you know playing Star Fox 64 the first time that in order to access, I don't know, what is it? Some level. I think it's Solar? Or maybe it's the level before Solar. Point is, there's this one part where you have to fly through these arches, and that gets Falco upset with you. Or he gets like, oh, nice flying, Fox, follow me, and then you keep following them, and then he goes through a waterfall, and then that's how you get to one of the alternate levels. I don't know, in this game, if they're handling it the way I think they will, then what they're going to do instead is, you get upgrades as you progress through the game, and then you can go back and reach areas of the levels you couldn't before. And that's cool. That's a nice way to handle side pathways. And because you can replay the levels as many times as you want, it's not like, oh, I've got to sacrifice a life to retry Macbeth so that I can get all the railroad switches, you know? Fuck the alternate pathway in that stage. But, at any rate. So what we've got here is, this part right here feels like something right out of Star Fox 2. Basically, you've got this giant ship that shoots these big mega death lasers, and when it does, it opens a hole in the shield. So you gotta fly through the shield to take on the enemy. Because as is, the Cornerian battleships can't attack this ship because of the shield, so you gotta find a way to get rid of the shield. Basically, what I'm doing is flying around the battleship here and taking out the main guns, you know, for those precious hits. Yeah, you do get hits from that. And on the back, you can see there's a big fuck me arrow right there. You can just go follow the fuck me arrow, and then that's where you do. And this is where the game reminds me of Star Fox 2, with like the battleships. So basically, what we won from completing Zone S is now the Walker has the ability to hack systems, just like the Gyro Wing, but then that just makes me wonder what the point of the Gyro Wing is. Because if the Walker can just do this, then why do I need it? You know what I mean? I mean, it's I don't know, like, I guess the Gyro Wing is the vehicle I could have done without if they had to scrap something, but I don't know, the Gyro Wing is fun enough that I think it's worth it. But I don't know, we've destroyed the shield on this thing, so now we gotta get out of here before they blow the fucking smithereens. So now, as you can see, I've got to fly out. Boom, bitch! That's fucking awesome right there. Oh, by the way, that guy screaming is hilarious. That's one of those ironically funny lines in this game. But, yeah, so we've completed Phase 1. Now we've just got to go after the other battleships. So, yeah, that means that if I die from this point on, I will respawn here. Yeah, I mean, like, that section right there in Star Fox 2, like I mentioned earlier, there are lots of parts where you have to go into battleships and blow them up from the inside. By the way, Kat is here. I'm guessing that if you get to this level by another means, she doesn't show up here. Maybe. That's my hypothesis. Oh, I guess, like, if you do bring Kat here, she drops one of those rings with the little emblems in it. Like, the gold rings with the emblems in it. You collect all the emblems, you get a gold medal, I think. So, yeah, I guess you can't get all the emblems in this level if you don't play Zonas before this. Andross's enemy is my enemy. But, yeah, this is where the dogfighting starts to get really intense, and where I really need to learn, where you really start to need to learn to use target view to really keep after them. One of the things I really hated about Star Fox 64 was the final encounter with Starwolf on Venom. That boss is just awful, because they move around way too fast, you move around way too slow, it's impossible to keep track of where they are, and it's just like, unless if you have all three of your teammates still alive to act as cannon fodder to distract them, and unless if you have a fully upgraded laser, you are not beating Starwolf on Venom. Unless if there's something I am missing, which is possible. But, you know, I consider myself a decent Star Fox player, and I had a real pain in the ass of a time on it, and it really just felt like the ships move too fast, you move too slow, and that's why I don't like all range mode in Star Fox 64, I'm sorry. But in Star Fox Zero, you've got target view, and because you've got target view, you can keep track of where your enemies are at all times. You just lock onto your favorite guy and then go into cockpit view to keep track of them and shoot them till they die. That, and I find that charge shots are more effective on them, like in Star Fox 64, like they always spin. They always do a barrel roll when you try to charge shot them, so you gotta like shoot them manually or something like that. Maybe it's the other way around. But it just made it a lot harder. It just made it hard and not the right way, you know what I mean? And because they make you fight that right before you fight Andross Brain, which is another god-awful boss that I hate. Yeah, not a huge fan of Starwolf in that game. The fight in Fachina is okay, or Fortuna as it's called in the 64 version, but, you know, it's tolerable, but the fight on Venom is awful. Here, because you got target view, it's a lot easier to keep track of what's going on, it's a lot easier to keep track of Wolf and his team and actually take him out, you know? So, fighting Starwolf in this game is a lot of fun. Unlike 64, and of course, the game's a little better about telling you when there's someone behind you so you can keep up with them easier. But, yeah. Yeah, but with that Battleship section back there, you turn in... Feel something right out of Star Fox 2, and from Star Fox 1 as well. There's this really awesome level in Star Fox 1 called Space Armada, and basically what you do in that stage is you fly through these giant battleships and blow them up from the inside, and it's really cool. Feels like a level that's way ahead of its time, you know? Reminds me of the trench run from Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. Yeah, but, you know. So I guess if you take too long to kill Starwolf, they shoot down Peppy. And it's just... My friend Haydox was telling me about this part, and he was just like... I guess he thinks that Star Fox Zero wants you to take the plot in this game seriously. I didn't really get that impression. I mean, there are parts where it tries to get a little bit more advanced with it, you know, like where it tries to get a little more beyond the schlock of 64. But for the most part, it really doesn't feel like, oh, these are serious characters, and they've got such a pathos and all that stuff. I don't really get that impression from this game at all. But yeah, but he told me that they shoot, Peppy gets shot down, you're supposed to care, and it's supposed to be like this huge emotional moment, and I don't know, I'm playing this level, and it really doesn't feel like that to me. It reminds me more of the part in, Star Fox 64, and I think Sector X. There's like this one level where there's like this Andros space that got blown up, and at the end you fight this giant robot that looks like Rob the robot. And then, like, if you take too long to kill it, then it grabs Slippy and throws him towards Titania. That's what Peppy getting shot down here reminds me of. It reminds me of that. More so than it does, you know, and it even happens on the same planet, Titania. Huh. Okay, so I guess you can... I don't know, I'll figure out the alternate pathways later. There might even be some hidden levels, too. Who knows? But, yeah, so I didn't find it as big of a deal as Haydox did. I don't see the game trying to make me take it seriously at all. It just feels like, oh no, our mentor got shot down. We gotta go save him. It reminds me exactly of the Slippy getting shot down in 64. You know? So it is what it is. It's cute. It shows that Fox cares about his teammates and is willing to go after him, just like in 64. So, in this level, we use the Landmaster, which we also used in Titania and on Macbeth. And it, honestly, out of all the vehicles in this game, this one feels almost exactly like it did in 64. I mean, you've got the gyro controls, of course, but this... Like, basically how it works is the right stick flips you over, and I think, like, in 64, Z and R flipped you over. Like, it was like... And then that was how you moved left and right. And then you use the left stick to aim and shoot. I think that's how it worked in that game. So in this game, it really just doesn't feel that different to me. The Landmaster's controls are just... I don't know, I think I said earlier that the R-Wing was my favorite vehicle. The Landmaster might be my favorite vehicle, actually. Its controls are, like, perfect. There's never any point where I felt like, oh, this is a little bit awkward, like I did with when I first played the Walker, or when I first played the, Gyro Wing. With this, I picked it up and just... Bam. Easy to play, and really fun, too. Like, this is the best the Landmaster's ever been, in my opinion. Really fun vehicle to play with. There's only one other level, I think, on my run that I happen to use it on, but... Really fun. And, make a lot more use out of the controls, too. Like, this level design's a lot more interesting than Titania on 64. I don't know. But it's just like, yeah. So I guess I should get back to what I was saying about motion controls before the last part ended. It feels to me like, you know, so I've already discussed that it's just my hypothesis as to why people do not like motion controls is because they felt disappointed. At least some people did. Felt disappointed that the Wii didn't live up to its promise. Or just got tired of all the shovelware, or just... And it's possible that they're just people who just... It just never worked for them, even when it was good, and just... would prefer to see something that they know works. That's fine, you know? It's not my place to say, you have to like motion controls. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that I've played more games than most people, and I've played them many more times, that do use motion controls and do use them very well. For example, the Metroid Prime trilogy is probably the best example, actually. Because it's like, with the sword and Skyward Sword, it takes a little while to get used to it. Like, it took me... I got killed by the first battle with Girahim on my first playthrough. But with Metroid Prime trilogy, I had a learning curve as well. Because that's the thing with motion controls, is that there is a learning curve. Because we're all used to using control sticks and buttons and whatnot, and that's just something you learn, because any game pretty much uses that. Motion controls in games that actually use motion controls effectively are a lot more rare. Like I said, there are only 3 I can think of, and that's Metroid Prime trilogy. Well, that's technically 3 games, but Metroid Prime trilogy, Star Fox Zero, and Skyward Sword are like the only 5 games I can think of that use motion controls and use them really effectively in interesting ways that I think really adds to the gaming experience. The problem is that while I've played Metroid Prime trilogy to death and am used to using pointer controls to aim and shoot at things, and and while I've played Skyward Sword and gotten used to the way that the sword handles, a lot of people haven't. So they pick up something like Star Fox Zero and they're having the same learning curve I had playing Metroid Prime 3 Corruption for the Wii back in like 2008. And it's like they don't know what to make of it, because it's just like they're not used to playing the game this way. And this game isn't like Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, where it feels a lot more like a dual analog game. Just they replace the right analog stick with the pointer controls. This game uses 3 sticks to all do a bunch of different things, and it gives you a huge degree of control that you can't get in any other game. But, at the same time, it's just like some people don't care about that extra degree of control. They just want something that they're familiar with and know works. And Star Fox Zero doesn't do that. You've got a game... I mean, like, the controls get a little different in this Scrapworm fight right here. Like, here, this is where I really start to use target view a lot. And again, you can't see it because it's on the gamepad. But it's just like with target view, the camera on the top screen focuses in on the boss, and then you can use the game. The thing about target view that I haven't actually mentioned is that the reticle will disappear from the top screen when you're in target view. The idea is that you're supposed to look down at the gamepad and then aim and shoot that way for more precise shots. I never had a problem with it, but I'm guessing some people might. And, So this, this guy's got a giant tether laser thing, and that's actually going to come into play with the final boss. But you shoot the little growths on the side. Actually, wasn't there a boss like this in Sonic Boom? Like, I could have sworn there was a giant Scrapworm boss in Sonic Boom. I have to go look at my footage and see. I'll put up like a little bit right here, maybe.
The crystal! Finally! An easy one.
Whoa!
You just had to say something, didn't you?
But, this boss is pretty fun, though. I enjoyed it. And with all the bosses, I really like them. There's one boss that kind of was a little difficult for the wrong reasons, and we'll get to him in, like, part 7 or some shit. Yeah, but here we are with the, sandworm and scrapworm, and every once in a while it'll go into the center and, like, try to pull you in. I think in Star Fox 64 there was, like, this giant, ugly-looking alien boss instead. I don't know, I like this boss a lot more. There was nothing wrong with that other one, but, But point is, when I came into Star Fox Zero, even though I'd never played it or touched the control scheme before, I was a lot more used to using motion controls to aim around and stuff. Just out of virtue of having played Prime Trilogy so many times and having played Skyward Sword and aiming the arrows that way and all that stuff. So I was used to it. And on top of that, I've played a shit ton of Star Fox in my time, gentles and ladiesmen. I've played the SNES game many times. I played Assault many times. I played 64 a few times. Played Star Fox 2 a number of times. So when I came into this game, because like as much as the gyroscopes change the controls, a lot of it's still the same. Like you can still tilt to turn faster in all range mode. You can still tap down on the C stick to brake so that you can turn quickly and aim around at other things. And you know, there's all this stuff here that I'm just familiar with just by virtue of having played other Star Fox games before. So I know, I guess that puts me in a unique position to enjoy this game right out of the box that other people will not be in if they haven't played Metroid Prime Trilogy and haven't played Star Fox a lot. Because I know that Nick on Aquamagna, I'm probably going to have on the show later, or on this playthrough rather, this Let's Play series, he's a huge Metroid Prime fan as well. So he's familiar with using motion controls to aim at shit, and you know what I also get the feeling is that I get the feeling that a lot of people are trying to aim the reticle by looking down at the gamepad when they're not in target view, you know? And it's just like, that's not what you're supposed to do. You know, you're supposed to look down, you're supposed to keep looking up at the screen and move it around by move around the reticle by moving around the gamepad, you know? So I get the feeling that people just don't know how these controls work and then are blaming the game when they're having difficulties. That's just my hypothesis, and while it may apply to some people may have made a good faith effort to get used to the controls and just couldn't do it. And if that's you, I respect your opinion. But, you know, like I said, I was kind of in a unique position to appreciate these controls, and I am mindful of that as I record this LP and, you know, as I go further along with the eventual review that will come out whenever. So, yeah. So that was Sector Beta and Titania. Join me in the next episode, and we will continue on with our assault on Planet Venom. Or we'll get farther along in our quest to get to Planet Venom. You know what I mean. So, until then, I'm ExoParadigmGamer, and I hope you enjoyed the episode.
Ah!